Hello, people. All the time. I'm having, I don't know, visual problems on the screen. Hopefully this is clearer. Hopefully. Anyway. Boring. In the review. Look. I like Max von Sydow, but you have a tall Swedish man playing a short Jewish man who looks nothing like a Jewish man. This movie is boring. I watched the entire thing yesterday again. I almost fell asleep again. First, let me start with the actual Jewish person who's not really Jewish. This guy. Him. I've always said this, and I will continue saying this. I know people like this film. I know people like this movie. They think it's a wonderful film. Oh, it's a good light for Jesus. Well, I'm not sure on what planet, but I know people like this movie. I'm not one of them. I find the movie very monotone, very drawn out. This film is 3 hours and 19 minutes long. That is about probably an hour longer than it needs to be. Even that much. Maybe more. It's boring. And the story should be the greatest story ever told, because it is. The idea behind it is fine. I've read the book, by the way. I have read the book. But one of my biggest problems with the book is the way Jesus is portrayed. Not only does he not look Jewish, he doesn't act Jewish. There's nothing Jewish about him. There's nothing about him that says, I was born in Bethlehem, Nazareth, a.k.a. Judah and Galilee and Israel. Nothing. And I will tell you how he comes across. He comes across as if somehow he woke up one day and somehow he's not quite sure where he is, who he is, why he is. He's mystical to the point of annoying. He's mystical to the point where he really comes across as if he's on something or isn't quite sure who he is. I would follow this Jesus. If this Jesus walked up to me and said, come follow me, and I was sitting at my tax collecting desk, I'd say, go away. No. I don't know who you are. I don't want to know who you are. You don't come across as if you really understand what's going on. I've always said this. If you want to know what the Gnostic Jesus was like, if you know who the Gnostics are, they spiritualized everything away. The physical world is evil. The spiritual world is good. Jesus was a spirit being. He's everything other than what the Bible tells you he was. This is how Max von Sydow's Jesus comes across. I'm here. Who are you? Well, I'm the Messiah. Really? Don't act like the Messiah. In fact, you act like a tall Jewish man or a Swedish man. Because that's what you look like. Now, in case anyone is thinking I am talking out of turn because I don't know anything about Gnosticism, I'm going to show you some of the books I have on the subject. I have a Gnostic Bible, which is huge. Has everything in here up to when the publication date of this was, which means it won't have this in there. I've read both of these. Okay? If I know more about the Gnostics, I'll read Elaine Pagels' books. And even more, the Gospel of Thomas is a Gnostic work. A lot of it comes across as not a human. It just doesn't. Jesus was human. He was God in the flesh, but he was also human. This Jesus comes across as if he's just on some sort of spirit journey and isn't quite sure what it is to be human. He doesn't come across as real. And a lot of problems I have with this film is there's a lot of staring off into space. Utah, by the way. It looks nothing like Israel because it's not Israel. It was filmed in Utah. And every single scene you see beautiful Utah. And that's where it was filmed. It was filmed in Utah. Utah is a pretty place, by the way. But this ain't Israel. This is not Israel. This is filmed, and it looks like Utah. The landscape does not look like anything you'd see in Israel. Oh, look, we show a desert. Okay, still doesn't make it look like Israel. It's very monotone, and a lot of what he says doesn't really fit to where it was in the scriptures. It's like they just gave him a whole bunch of verses to say at certain points without any real context. And if there is context, it's not really fitting into that part of where he is in the movie. I know people like this, and I know they like this, but this Jesus I wouldn't follow. This is not Jesus. This is a Gnostic version of Jesus. He's a spirit being who doesn't quite understand. I don't think he acts like he has no idea. He comes across. I don't want to say it. I comes across as if he's stoned, as if he's on something, and it ain't the Holy Spirit. He's on something, but it ain't the Holy Spirit. I'm sorry. This Jesus is not all there because he comes across that way. He doesn't come across as a Jew, first and foremost. He doesn't come across as if he's human. I mean, fully human and fully God. He comes across as if he's Gnostic. And when I say that, I really do mean like a spirit being inhabiting a body it doesn't quite understand and knows. Actually, I can't explain it. Gnosticism is very contradictory. A lot of Gnostic teaching doesn't agree with other Gnostic teachings, and it's all over the place. It's one of the reasons why the Gospel of John was written, was because John was fighting Gnosticism, or the roots of it, from the beginning of it. But the movie is just, it's a lot of scenes of people just standing around and watching. No, literally. Lots of scenes, people are just standing there, watching something or somebody. I mean, a lot of the interior scenes look like stages. They look like theater stage scenes. They literally do look like they're on stage. It doesn't look real. Nothing about this film feels real. Nothing does. I know people like this film, and I know they do. I mean, some of the acting is. I really want to say that some of the acting is good. But you know what's funny is some of the acting that is good is not the Jews who are acting, or the people who are pretending to be Jews. Telly Savalas as Pontius Pilate is pretty good. For the most part, it's pretty good. For the most part. Martin Landau as Caiaphas is wooden, and I don't buy it if he's running anything. Because a lot of the costuming is very bland, very bleached out, it's very monotone in color. There's nothing about this place that signifies people live here. The landscape of the places these people live, you would think this was a post-apocalyptic world. Nothing looks lived in. Nothing looks like it doesn't look like anybody's actually living here. The Romans march around a lot, by the way. You'll notice there's a lot of marching scenes of Romans. It's like, okay, but they did a lot more than that. I mean, and Claude Rains as Herod the Great, he's frightening enough, but it doesn't really quite work. I like Claude Rains; he's a good actor. I still think that Peter Ustinov did a slightly better job in the miniseries Jesus of Nazareth, but Peter Ustinov comes across as if he's playing a part, though. He's like he's playing Herod the Great. The Claude Rains version, he's sinister, I'll give you that. But as I keep saying, a lot of the interior scenes look and act like they're on a stage, like they're literally a stage and an audience is watching this. I mean, there's a lot of scenes where it's just. I'm trying to think of the other. I mean, there are a lot of cameos in this movie. I mean, Jamie Farr of MASH is in this movie. He plays Thaddeus. I think he has one line. David Hedison from Voyage in the Bottom of the Sea is in this film, and I don't think he ever says a word. David McClellan plays Judas Iscariot, and I like Ian McShane's version of Judas in the Jesus of Nazareth film a lot better than Ian McShane. I mean David McClellan's. He'll be Ducky in CSI, but his version is like all the other people in this thing. They're all just sort of just watching and staring, and almost blank-like looks on their faces, like they're not quite sure how they're supposed to act or be or react to this person. It's just, Robert Blake's in this film. It takes a while for you to figure out where he is, but he's in this film. He's one of the apostles. I mean, and Roddy McDowall was in this film as Matthew. Well, like Roddy McDowall actually acts like he's acting, like he's actually trying to play a part, like he's actually trying to put some sort of character into the person he's playing. Because, sorry, but all the other characters are just there. With the reflecting the light. I have my prison right there. Anyway, but Roddy McDowall was Matthew, even though he had a brief scene where Jesus walks up to his table and says, "Come follow me." Actually, he never even says that. There's a lot of things in this film that they really rewrote that are not in the scriptures. I mean, a lot of lines he doesn't say. You could tell this was not from the King James right away, and I'm not even sure it's from the NIV, because it's not. There's something you can tell, but I think the other actors I can think of off the top of my head. Blake. I mean, I go through my head. I'm trying not to look. Cheryl Baker's in here somewhere, and I could not find her. She was in Baby Girl, Eli Wallach, and so on and so forth. Pat Boone, Victor Bruno. He's one of the Pharisees. He speaks, but that's about all he does. Jose Ferrer. He plays King Herod's son. He does a very good job as playing Herod. He does a very good job playing Herod. He, like Roddy McDowall, seems to actually realize they're in a movie and they should have character of some kind other than just staring at this Jesus person with this blank look on their faces, trying to figure out what their next line is. Because a lot of these people in this film don't talk. They don't say anything. Half this film of some of the characters you see repeatedly don't say anything. And when they do say it, it's very monotone. It's very, nobody in this film seems alive. Like they're actually in a real place, other than maybe Roddy McDowall's character, Jose Ferrer's character, maybe a few other people, maybe. I'm really pushing it if I say maybe. Sal Mineo is in this film. He plays a crippled man who is healed. He does okay. I know so little about Sal Mineo. I know he likes to kill robbery or something. Angela Lansbury's in this film. Very briefly, I mean, you could count to 10 seconds, and that's how long she's in this film. And I think she has one line. That's when she's talking to Pontius Pilate. Let's see. Donald Pleasance. No, Donald Pleasance. Okay. Donald Pleasance plays the devil. Donald Pleasance is creepy in this film. He does a good job, but it is a little hammy. But Donald Pleasance with hair and the beard, he manages to pull off creepy without being over the top. I think he was enjoying himself. I think he really was having a fun time, I think. I would have to read the history of this movie while I'm actually caring. I'm not sure I do. Sidney Poitier is briefly in this film. He is the fellow who helped Jesus carry the cross the rest of the way. He doesn't say anything when he's in the film. I said Telly Savalas already. John Wayne. Yes, everything you've heard about John Wayne being in this film. If it was ever miscasting, John Wayne is a Roman, speaking the lines, truly this was the Son of God. I get that. It is such a bad. It's like, John, say it with feeling. I know that's the problem. Nothing about these people in this film really feel like real people. Even some of the good, quasi good acting here and there, and the effort by some actors, and that light is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to move my. What usually happens when the sun goes down in the evening and it shines the prism all over the place. But anyway, but everything is so monotone. The landscape, the coloring, the clothes, the dialogue, the plot is. This movie does not need to be 3 hours and 19 minutes long. This film is way too long, and the reason it's so long is there are so many scenes of just panoramic view of scenery, people standing around, people. And I'm beginning to think that the only color clothes that people wore back then was all white. Because pretty much almost everybody's wearing a white robe. It's like a cult. It's an Olympic cult. I'm serious. This movie almost put me to sleep. Oh no, literally. I was almost dozing off. That's how boring this movie doesn't seem to understand that first century Israel. Yes, I refuse to call it what it wasn't. First century Israel was, despite the Roman occupation, it didn't look like this. And people didn't generally all act like this. They all act like it's a post-apocalyptic world. And it looks like nothing but devastation and just misery, and nothing looks alive. The acting is, I'm sorry, the acting is monotone except for the few brief glimmers of good acting. Look, I like Max Sydow. I like him as an actor. I have always have liked him as an actor. But he's a tall Swedish man playing a short Jewish man. It don't work. It don't work necessarily. Why they? It does not work. Something that Mel Brooks would do. Supposedly, this movie was up for Best Picture. I'd have to look. I really don't feel like it. I believe this movie was up. I know it was up for Academy Awards because it says so. Okay. It says, honored with 5 1965 Academy Award nominations. For what? I'm going to have to look on it. I do have an actual book on the Academy Awards. Why do I do this to myself? 1965. This is an old book. This one only goes up to 97. This only goes up to 97. 65. Now I have to look, see how. Okay, what wasn't up for Best Picture? Okay. Best Picture that year was The Sound of. Oh, I can't stand that movie. I do not like The Sound of Music. Sorry. I just think it's boring. I love Christopher Plummer, but I still think it's boring. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out real fast what I could have been up for. I'm not finding anything. Okay, no. Well, whatever this thing was up for, it's not here. Unless I missed it. Am I missing something? Well, this book doesn't record anything was up for. So it must have been up for awards that weren't that important. Because I'm sorry, this film would not win an award in my world. Maybe for curing insomnia. My biggest thing about this film is it doesn't feel like it's happening in the real world. It's almost metaphysical. It's almost like it's a dream world. It's not. There's nothing real about these people. Except for the brief good acting by Roddy McDowall and Jose Herrera, and I'll even give Telly Savalas because he's frightening as a Roman Pontius Pilate. Of course, he's always frightening. But I could not tell you. I could show you the picture on the back. They tell me who the actor. The picture is so small, I couldn't tell you who's who. Because that's Robert Blake. It'll take a while to figure out who Robert Blake is. It's difficult to tell. This movie is very metaphysical, and I'm not kidding when I say if you want to understand who a agnostic Jesus was like, this is him. That's him right there. This is not the Jesus of the Bible. This is not the Jesus of the Jesus movie, or the Jesus of the Passion of the Christ, or the Jesus of Nazareth miniseries. This fellow does not know who he is, or at least he doesn't know who he is as a human. He I could go on and on and on. I know people like this film. I'm just not one of them. I think it's boring. I think the acting is very monotone and very, very cerebral. The right word? I don't think that's the right word. But it is written like it's boring. I know I keep saying that because I think that's his biggest problem. This film is not interesting. This movie is not. It will not hold your attention. It barely held mine. Don't look at me like that. Movie's boring. Staring at me like, oh, why don't you like my film? Because it's boring. The acting is monotone to the point of I'm gonna fall asleep. There's something about the main character that really would tell me. If he came and he said, "Follow me," say, "No, I'm not following you. I don't think you know who you are yet. Well, figure out who you are first, and then come to me." Charlton Heston is good as the Baptist, as I said already. I do kind of prefer Michael York's version. It would be a toss-up, but I kind of like Michael York's version a little bit better. I like Peter Ustinov's Hereditary. I keep thinking that somebody else was in this film was also in Jesus of Nazareth, and I cannot for the life of me remember if I'm just misremembering something. But this movie was made in 1965, 3 hours and 19 minutes of mind-numbing, very slow, lots of panoramic scenes of Utah. No, it was filmed in Utah. This film was filmed in Utah, and it looks like Utah. Doesn't look like Israel. And it's very, as I keep saying, it has a very post-apocalyptic feel to it. Particularly when they show you where people are living, and how they look, and how they dress, and how they act. It's like, okay, Jesus, I think you're in the wrong continent, let alone the wrong place, along the wrong anything, because you're a few thousand miles away from where you should be. This ain't it. I will try to do a better movie review on something more careful. I am trying to go 10 to 20, 25 minutes, but I might not. But yeah, these books, don't learn anything about Gnosticism. This is a good one. This one has the Secret Book of James, the Gospel of Thomas, which I've read, the Book of Thomas, and the Secret Book of John. This is the Gnostic Gospels. She's well known for her paganism, or her Gnosticism. I mean, this talks about all. This one is a pretty good, shorter version of what the Gnostics believe. This one is not in the Gnostic Bible that I have. Yeah. But I've read this. Actually, this book I would recommend. This book. This guy does a pretty good job of being fair about what the Gospel of Judas is saying. He's very fair on how he presents both sides. This is an excellent book to read. I would recommend this book if you really want to understand all this. You want to understand that. But he does a very good job. He does a fair job. He really does. He does a fair job of analyzing both sides. problems with it, not problems with it. But anyway, as I like to show I do have the Gnostic Bible. There's everything in it except for the discoveries made before they published this thing in when they published it. It was published in 2003, so yeah, it's pretty old. They found a few things since then, but it has stuff. I've read the Gospel of Thomas. It's different. Different. Yeah, it's basically the Gospel of Thomas with the Jesus in this film. It's not a good movie. It's boring. Okay, it's a my next film I will do in my review. I will try to make more interesting and more fun. Always something positive. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Give yourselves people, because I'm not going to.